Hello. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Linn Mast, Linn with an I, Linn, Mast, and I've been practicing here in Medina since 1977.
What are some of your first memories of practice in Medina County?
When I first came to Medina, there was one ophthalmologist who practiced here just a couple days a week. He actually lived in a suburb of Cleveland and used to drive down here for 2 days, and he had an interesting scheduling system. He had two appointment times. One of them was at 7:30 in the morning, and the other one was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you got an appointment, called his office and made an appointment, you got an appointment for one of those two times. Then all the people who had an appointment at 7:30 showed up, and whoever got there first was the first one to be seen. So you could have an appointment at 7:30 and not be seen until 12:30. So we started off with giving individual appointments at specific times throughout the day. And from the time we opened our office in 1977, we were busy from the first day, which was kind of obvious for that reason.
Oh, wow. What changes at the hospital made the most impression on you?
When I first came in 77, the emergency room was down in the basement of the hospital, and it was less than ideal. It was a definite basement, and as far as ophthalmology was concerned, they didn't have any slit lamp, magnifying glasses, anything at all like that. And I got called in for almost every eye case that came to the emergency room because I was the only one that was here full time. And we didn't have a whole lot of equipment there, so we managed to work on trying to get that. The changes that they did, they bought a slit lamp, bought other equipment so that we could finally examine people.
What major changes did you witness in your specialty?
There were a lot of changes. Actually, in ophthalmology, there have been some significant changes over the years. Um, we're talking from the 1800s up through the present time now, and actually the ophthalmoscope wasn't even invented until about 1850. So doctors who practiced oculism rather than ophthalmology at the time couldn't even examine the eye. They just had to look at the outside. And so there's some huge changes over the course of time. The development of cataract surgery, from the first cataract procedures that they did was called couching, where they actually took a needle and just stuck it in the eye and pushed the lens out of the way so that you could see through that thing. They didn't really remove the cataract. Uh, Again, with no antibiotics or anything, there was an awful lot of infection, and so the success rate was very, very slow. Over the course of time, we invented the ophthalmoscope, and we developed cataract surgery, where we could actually go in and remove the cataractus lens. Then we've had all kinds of changes over the years with instrumentation, the development of first intracapsular, that was taking the entire lens out, then called extracapsular cataract extraction. And then we had phacoemulsification, which came in about the 1960s or so, where we went in and broke up the lens and took it out. We could start to use smaller incisions instead of the great big incision to remove the lens. Intraocular lenses were started in about the 1940s, didn't become really popular until later in the 60s or so. Then with the phacoemulsification, where we broke up the lens, we could put make a small incision and put the lenses through that. And the changes in time spent after cataract surgery was phenomenal. When you first had a cataract operation, you used to stay in the hospital for a week. Even when I came to town, it was 3 days you stayed in the hospital. First, it was sandbags around your head so you couldn't move, and then not when I was there, but before that time. Now, people come in, have the cataract surgery, and walk out and go home. Such a change in things. changes in retina, changes in strabismus or crossed eyes in kids, changes in macular degeneration with the new AI things that we're doing and genomes and all sorts of changes and things that progression in ophthalmology. So,
Wow. What do you think is the best change that you see in medicine today?
with all the progressions that we've had with antibiotics and insulin and all sorts of things, but the best recent change probably, and this is strange, is the development of the electronic medical record, which allows us to access all the information about a patient no matter where they are. You can be traveling all across the country, all around the world, and still have available all the background information on every patient, which makes it much easier rather than starting to see a patient de novo with no information whatsoever. There's some drawbacks to that, but as long as it's used properly, it's probably one of the best things that I think we can find. Of course, the development of AI and genomes and all sorts of things also add to that.
On the other side, what is the change in medicine today that saddens you the most?
I think probably the biggest change is the shift from the practice of medicine by physicians. It's becoming a big business now, the business of medicine. We've lost, I think, the personal touch for medicine, individual looking face to face with with people and taking care of them personally, knowing them on an individual basis. That's sort of been lost, I think, now that doctors are employed by all sorts of large companies and have to meet timelines, seeing only 15 minutes to spend with a patient. I think that's been a sad thing. But again, it can be utilized if the doctors realize that they need to develop that relationship.
What would be the best advice that you could give the physicians practicing today?
Know your patient. I think, again, the tendency with electronic medical records and the way we're moving now is to see a disease process rather than a person with that particular disease. And I probably would say, learn to know your patient, look them in the face, know who's sitting in your exam chair, and don't just think of them as a problem to be solved, but a person who has a problem that you want to help through their difficult times. Done.
Done.
Go ahead.